In times of darkness, love sees. In times of silence, love hears. In times of doubt, love hopes. And in times of sorrow, love heals. And in all times, love remembers. May time soften the pain until all that remains is the warmth of the memories and the love. The warmth of the memories and the depth of the love and the tremendous sorrow are palpable right now. As we gather to celebrate the life of Keith Anthony Smith, we acknowledge that he was a dearly loved husband, father, poppy, son, a son-in-law, a brother-in-law, an uncle, an outstanding member of the Tasmanian Police Force, and a wonderful friend to so many. Here, we will mourn him leaving us, honour his life, reverently farewell his body, and comfort one another. We come believing that all life is valuable, no matter how it is begun or how it is ended. We come to claim the truth and integrity which lives and died in this life and which lives on in us. We come believing that Keith's life, which we remember today and for which we now experience great loss, is joined with all life, stretching into the past and into the future. At this moment, as we come face to face with death, especially this tragic death, we have many feelings alongside our grief. This is a harsher moment than we expected. Around this death, there are more questions than answers. In the face of that, let us open our hearts to each other in mutual comfort and reassurance. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Janaea and Keith's family and the Tasmanian Police Service, I welcome you and thank you for being here to honour Keith's life. Thank you for signing the attendance register as you arrived. If you haven't yet done so, there will be an opportunity after the service at the gathering at the pier in Ulverston. The family would really love for you to join them there, if possible. One of Tasmanian Police's longest serving and highly respected members, Constable Keith Smith, was killed in the line of duty, rocking not only the community of Ulverston, where he was stationed, but in fact, our entire nation. I now invite our Tasmanian Police Commissioner, Donna Adams, to come forward to speak on behalf of the Police Tasmania Service.
It is with profound sadness and yet great honour that I stand before you today in the presence of Keith's family, friends and colleagues to celebrate the career and legacy of Constable Keith Anthony Smith. Keith joined Tasmania Police as a member of Cadet Course 3 of 2000. From the very beginning, he was driven by a deep desire to serve the Tasmanian community. In his application to join Tasmania Police, Keith wrote he hoped to provide meaningful support to individuals while building lasting relationships founded on trust and service. These values, service and support would go on to define his 25-year career. Following his graduation, Keith was first posted to Launceston uniform, where it didn't take long before his actions and commitment to service and support were formally recognised. In 2001, the very year he graduated, he received a certificate of commendation. Keith sustained injuries in a police vehicle crash at Longford, yet he responded when called to a violent domestic dispute involving a weapon shortly thereafter. His actions reflected a courage and commitment to his community, which was beyond expectation so soon after graduating. I saw this commendation proudly on display at Keith's home when I visited the family last week. The following year, in 2002, his second year on the job, Keith was again commended by the then Assistant Commissioner Prinz for his role in arresting 2 offenders responsible for the deliberate arson of the Ravenswood Community Health Centre. His community leadership, investigative skill and devotion to public safety were evident even in his earliest of years. In 2003, Keith transferred to the Newnham Police Station before stepping into a 3-year appointment with the Northern Crime Management Unit, where he trained and served as an analyst. In 2006, he returned to Newnham, drawn once again to community policing, his true calling, where he spent more than a decade immersed in the people and places of his northern community. Throughout his career, Keith carried himself with quiet professionalism and calm resolve. He made a real difference in the lives of everyday Tasmanians. Community members frequently wrote to express their appreciation, recognising his professionalism and composure in difficult circumstances, his compassion and depth of understanding, his empathy, thoroughness and dignity, and time again describing his service as going above and beyond. And quite uniquely, and this is definitely not something you see every day, one letter of support came from an offender who Keith had arrested. From these examples, you can see that not only did Keith make a difference to the people in his community, but he touched people's lives in a way that was overwhelmingly positive and long-lasting. Keith's extraordinary contributions to the community were recognised with many service honours, including the Commissioner's Medal 10 years awarded in February 2011, the Commissioner's Medal First Clasp 20 years awarded in November 2021, and the National Medal 15 years and the National Police Service Medal awarded in October 2016. But it wasn't just in uniform that Keith gave of himself. His community spirit ran deep, and over the years he participated in 3 Tasmania Police Charity Trust bike rides, where he cycled over 400 kilometres during each event to raise over more than $100,000 for Tasmanian charities, mostly focused on children. While Keith's last ride in the event occurred in 2014, he was recently heard saying he was on the comeback trail, however this time on an e-bike. In 2007, he helped coordinate a heartfelt tribute and fundraising event for the family of Maddie Goodall, a primary school student who tragically lost his life in a traffic crash. In 2020, Keith transferred to the Ulverston Police Station, where he continued to serve his community with dedication and integrity until he was tragically taken from us in the line of duty. The grief that has followed Keith's death has been deep and far-reaching, and it's affected us all. His loss has been felt across the policing family in our state, across Australia and New Zealand, and also across the Tasmanian community who knew him, who trusted him, and were better off for having been in his presence. Over 500 heartfelt messages were sent to the online public condolence register in a matter of days, with tributes coming from as far as Tonga. Dozens of floral arrangements have been placed outside the Ulverston Police Station, and more than 100 handwritten reflections now grace the honour book, all powerful testimonies of Keith's lasting impact as a police officer. I've also been personally stopped in the street by community members wanting to share a memory and express what Keith meant to them. One tribute on the online register has really captured what so many feel, and I'd like to share that with you now. To Constable Keith Smith's family and loved ones, words cannot express the deep sorrow felt by all of us who knew Keith, even in the smallest ways. He wasn't just a police officer. He was a guardian, a mentor, and a true friend to many in the community. Whenever I'd come across him around town, especially when I was younger and in trouble, or even when I needed his help, Keith was always there. He had a way of calming me down and looking out for me in so many different ways, making sure I stayed on the right path. His kindness, strength, and dedication touched so many lives. Keith's legacy will live on in our hearts. It will live on in the hearts of everyone he protected and he inspired. To his family, thank you for sharing such a remarkable man with us. We stand with you in grief and in honour of his memory. Rest in peace, Keith. Keith's 25 years' experience were not merely measured in time served, but in lives touched, communities protected, and the countless moments where his presence made a difference. Our thoughts and prayers remain with all of Keith's family and loved ones. I hope that you will find some solace and comfort in the many thoughts and condolences being offered by so many and the number of lives he touched throughout his life. For his Blue family, Keith was more than a colleague. He was a friend, a mentor, and a true embodiment of what it means to be a police officer. We are privileged to have served alongside him. We cherished his friendship and the unwavering support he gave of his colleagues. His legacy of courage, support, compassion and service will live on. Rest in peace, Keith. With honour you served.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. The outpouring of love and support that Janaya and the family have received over the past 2 weeks has been simply incredible. Knowing just how much you care has brought them great comfort. It is inevitable that you will feel grief and pain today. Indeed, you may even feel angry, shocked, or cheated that Keith's life ended so tragically. This is natural, and these emotions must be let to run their course. You may feel that his loss is impossible to put into words, or even perhaps to accept. It may seem impossible to find the appropriate words to say to his family, or even to say to each other. There are no words that can do justice to such a profound loss. But it is important to remember that grief is the final act of love we can offer to those who touched our hearts so deeply. Grief is the silent tribute, the unspoken testament to the bond we shared. In every tear shed, in every ache felt, there is love. Raw, unfiltered and enduring. Grief is not just sorrow, it is the echo of devotion, a reflection of how profoundly someone mattered. Grief is the weight of love with nowhere to go, a reminder that even in Keith's absence, his presence remains woven into the very fabric of who we are. The only cure for grief is to grieve. Keith was born in the early morning of February, the 29th of February 1968, to his young, enthusiastic parents, and he spent his first 16 years in Bridgnorth. He shared a very special bond with his grandfather, Alfred, or Poppy as he was known. Poppy would take him to the horse races every weekend. The passing of Poppy in 1976 left a lasting mark on Keith's heart. He attended Exeter State School and briefly played mini-league at Bridgnorth, but soon discovered his true passions, bike riding and computer games. Keith was known to ride over 35 kilometres from Bridgnorth to Launceston. As technology evolved, he taught himself how to upgrade his computer, sparking an interest that would shape his future career. After college, Keith began working for his father, Graham, but soon realised he was meant to follow a different path. He found his way into the world of computers and took a job at a local electronics store where fate introduced him to his future wife, Janaea. Keith eventually started his own computer business and volunteered at Geared Cycles, helping with bike repairs and maintenance. A dedicated cyclist, he often rode with his friend Richie Port, a professional cyclist from Launceston. Despite a few hard falls, Keith always got back on the bike, totally undeterred. He had long expressed a desire to follow in the footsteps of his uncle, Ray Cohen, by becoming a police officer. And as mentioned earlier, in the year 2000, he made that dream a reality. Serving the community gave him deep fulfilment and a renewed sense of purpose. Another joy in Keith's life was his first dog, Cyro, a fluffy companion who adored him, followed by Lily and Higgins, his beloved King Charles Cavaliers. These pets were his family, and he cherished them. As life unfolded, Keith continued cycling, both competitively and for charity, and also discovered a new love for golf. At this point, he also reconnected with Janaea. They fell in love and married, and Keith embraced the role of father to Ava with an open heart. When his mother's health declined, Keith became the steady anchor of the family. He managed medical affairs with strength and compassion, allowing his father to focus on caregiving. His love and resilience carried the family through that very difficult chapter. I now invite Inspector Andrew Hanson and Sergeant Joshua Hayes to come forward to continue Keith's story.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Hanson and I had the privilege of working with Keith when we were both brand new constables back in the very early 2000s and in more recent times at the Ulverston Police Station as the Inspector. Today, along with Sergeant Josh Hayes, we are going to share some memories of Keith and what he meant to us all and trust me when I say that is our honour to do that. As mentioned, Keith was part of Tasmania Police Recruit Course 3 of 2000. That was a fairly large contingent back then of 40 people, and I know there are plenty of those course members here today. I wasn't surprised to hear some of the memories about Keith shared, being him kind, team-oriented, and despite the challenges of police who have to go through the recruit training, he would always ensure that he had time for other people to help support them to get through the training. And I was also affectionately shared a story about Keith's beloved dog who we heard about, who I thought was Cairo. As rumour has it, Keith may be the only police officer who was actually approved carer's leave to look after Cairo when there was a little bit of an issue. I'm quietly confident the course directors probably didn't have a really good bead on who or what Cairo was, but the application I'm sure has been long since processed. Keith graduated to Launceston, as mentioned, and that's where we first met. Having actually only graduated a few months before Keith, we pretty much had to navigate how to become police officers together, and we had a lot of fun doing it. Keith was very fit and healthy, and as mentioned, he had a passion for cycling, which is why some of us back then probably remember that he had legs like tree trunks, but in actual fact was a little bit disproportionate to the rest of his body back then. And it's been mentioned, Keith had IT skills. That was also really useful for us back in Launceston, for the one standalone desktop computer that we had for us all to do our work, which, as you can imagine, got a bit of work, so it was always breaking down, and Keith was right there to help us fix it. And I specifically remember Keith for his passion of DVDs. If anybody wanted a DVD, it didn't matter whether it was a friend of a friend or anybody, if Keith had it, he'd happily share it. And we did have a chuckle fairly recently about wondering whether or not it really was internet streaming that killed video store rentals. We think maybe it probably was a little bit of Keith's generosity back then. Commissioner mentioned a nasty police vehicle crash that Keith was involved with when him and a colleague were backing up at Longford. That was pretty much when we understood Keith as a person and who he would be as a police officer, because he pretty much dedicated all his spare time to making sure that she was looked after the crash. She had a broken leg, so Keith pretty much drove her to and from work, did all the housework, got her groceries, and if he couldn't do it, he pretty much had the rest of the shift on a roster to make sure that she was looked after. And clearly that's a reflection of Keith and who he was. Put simply, Keith was really almost a living definition of what it means to be kind, what it means to be caring, and what it means to be gentle. He clearly had strong personal values, and he knew how to show us what they looked like. Keith always had a smile on his face, and many of us don't ever recall seeing him being angry or letting the job get to him. And in fact, he managed to bring us up in times when we were feeling a bit down. I can absolutely credit Keith's influence on me in those early days, and I credit him with partly making me the person and the police officer that I am today. I'm going to step away for a few minutes and hand over to Josh, but I'll be back after that just to chat a bit about his more recent times in Ulverston.
Thank you, Andy. Hello, my name is Josh Hayes, and I thank each and every one of you for coming today. I had the privilege of being not only a colleague, but a close friend of Keith's. We first met in 2012 when I was working at Ravenswood Police Station and Keith was at Newnham Police Station. We worked the same roster and we were partnered together. Keith had been at Newnham much longer than I had been at Ravenswood and had much more policing experience than I. Keith also had the wisdom of age and life experience. When we were first rostered together, some people didn't know how we would go. We had different approaches and speeds. But from the first shift we did together, we clicked. As Janaea put it, we were yin and yang. Regardless if we were working in the same car together or if we were on the other sides of town, undertaking our own inquiries, working with Keith, I felt safe and supported. I knew he had my back. Keith would regularly drive across town, perhaps at the detriment of his own inquiries, to ensure I was all right. Early on, the thing that struck me about Keith was that everyone knew him and everyone respected him. You never got a complaint whilst working with Keith. I'd love to know how many complaints he prevented from his time working with many of us across Ravenswood and Newnham. Keith never played the bad cop. He couldn't. He was always the good cop. And most of the time, he brought his partners up to be the good cop too. If anyone had the need to call or interact with the police, they were the luckiest members of society if they had Constable Keith Smith respond. He took his time, he was methodical, he ensured whoever it be was listened to and understood. He had compassion and empathy that all police should aspire to. He did not worry about time or what else was going on. He gave his full attention to those that were in front of him. He might have taken 2 or 3 times longer than the others to complete a job, but he did the job right. I remember a radio room operator telling me that if you had a weird, tricky or complex job in Launceston and you saw that Lima 73 or whatever call sign that Keith was on duty in, you knew the job would be fixed appropriately. This empathy and compassion I've spoken of was shown to all sides. Those that found themselves on the wrong side of the law, again, felt very fortunate if they had Constable Keith Smith dealing with them. I won't go into depth telling stories about Keith now, as I'll save them for private conversations, and I look forward to telling you them for many years to come. Being partnered with Keith, I was lucky to have the same time off, and we began to hang out a lot outside of work. If you didn't already know, Keith was an athlete. I know in later years it may have been hard to believe, but in his younger day, he could outride anyone. I was only new to cycling when we started riding together. Keith taught me everything: how to ride, etiquette, maintenance, and of course, coffee. We would ride together before work, on days off, weekends. We did the police charity ride together. He introduced me to many in the cycling community. Just like in policing, he was respected and loved by everyone in cycling. Never a bad word said, always a coffee, a fruit bun, or a kiss biscuit, mid or post-ride. Keith also didn't mind a hit of golf. Unlike cycling, he wasn't the best. But nothing could beat a day on the course with Keith, laughing with and at each other's woeful shots. I was only permanently partnered with Keith for a maximum of 2 years. Life and careers took us in different directions. But those days, working with Keith, are some of the fondest memories of my career and life, and I hold them dearly. However, regardless of life and direction, Keith regularly kept in touch. He supported me through adversity, and I supported him through the same. But what set Keith apart from others was, regardless of what was happening in his personal life, he put others first and went out of his way to support others in need. That's what made him amazing. I'd like everyone to know how much he appreciated the support and strength you all have given him. I hope you all fully understand that. I was lucky enough to be privy for Keith's joy in rekindling with Janaea and becoming a father for Ava. This brought him so much happiness, and he was so proud. He was also proud of his family and his friends' families. He was a father, a grandfather to countless more. I'd like to finish with that Keith would not expect so many people to come to his funeral, regardless of the situation of his passing. He didn't realise the profound effect he had on others. Rest easy, mate. I hope you're half-wheeling everyone in the sky, playing some Diablo and having a few coffees.
Thanks, Josh. Policing, I feel, is a somewhat unique career because you do form really intense bonds and relationships with the people that we serve with. I feel like those bonds are strengthened because we face adversity and we have to work through challenges together on behalf of the community. so that others don't have to. But despite that, as we do, as Josh says, you move away, you might transfer to a different station. It's always amazed me that when you do reconnect after that period of time, it's almost like it was yesterday, and it's literally like that. And that was certainly the case with Keith. When I transferred to Ulverston in January this year, I think it took no less than 10 minutes before I saw Keith and was wrapped up in one of the biggest bear hugs I've ever had. When that happened, two things kind of happened simultaneously. Number one, I forgot Keith was a hugger. And number two was that it instantly made me feel like I belonged there. Because that's just what Keith did. And I just can't help but think how absolutely chuffed Keith would be knowing the amount of hugs that have been thrown about in police stations and here today. He would be very pleased with that. We're going to wrap up today by retouching on what Josh has already mentioned about how Keith did his best work for our community. To borrow some words from Keith's sister-in-law, he genuinely embodied service, compassion, and quiet strength. Keith would absolutely make sure he did the best job he could for anybody that he served. The level of attention to detail that Keith gave to his tasks was absolutely normal for him. But I can tell you that that was exceptional to the people that he delivered that service to. And it was exceptional because of his genuine care and empathy. I'd like to quickly offer thanks to the entire community for sharing their grief, sharing their messages of support with us. Keith was really proud of what he did, and he was really proud of everybody who he did it with. He would be genuinely humbled by the outpouring of grief from the community, and it's really important for me to actually thank the community for that. And lastly, I'd like to share this next comment on behalf of Keith's colleagues at Ulverston, and that includes the Marine Police. And if I could probably be so bold to suggest that this is most likely on the behalf of the Western District Tasmania Police, and probably more broadly across the emergency services community. This is to Janaea, to Ava, to Keith's dad Graham, to Derek, Alison and Chris. I want you to know that Keith's legacy will continue in us. His kindness, his compassion, and his wonderful nature has rubbed off on us all. And I assure you that there will be a bit of Keith with us as we continue to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew and Josh. Keith's legacy definitely is one of love, service, dedication, and unwavering kindness. He will be remembered always by those who had the privilege to know and love him. Ladies and gentlemen, there are several tributes to be delivered this afternoon, and the first one is from his adopted father-in-law, Dudley Corbett. Thank you, Dudley.
First of all, thank you to Denise for the wonderful job that she's doing and always does. and it's certainly a bit daunting to have to follow very eloquent police personnel. But for now, you'll have to cop it from me. I'd like to welcome you. I know that you've already been welcomed, but on behalf of Keith's family, I do welcome you all today. Thank you for coming. I welcome those watching on live stream, and even though they can't be with us in person, I know that their thoughts and their sympathies are with you all today. We gather today to pay our respects to our very own Blue Angel and to pay homage to this faithful servant. A very special welcome, as I said, to dignitaries and the services, and especially to Commissioner Adams and her team of the Army of Blue. Heartfelt thanks also goes directly from our family to Josh, to Anthea, and to Jen. You have been our rock. Thank you so much. To the general public nationwide who have taken us into their arms, but more importantly, have taken us into their hearts. Keith was a great man who gave his all for his lovely wife, Janea, his precious daughter, Ava, and his long-suffering mother-in-law, Marie. His family in general, the force, and indeed the wider community. We will forever remember and treasure his lasting legacy, his quiet demeanour, and his fastidious attention to his chosen vocation. I am honoured to be able to share a piece of poetry today in honour of Keith. And the heading is End of the Watch for Officer Keith. Beneath the Southern Cross he stood with steady heart and oath of good. A badge upon his chest did shine, a promise sworn, a sacred line. The thin blue line he walked with pride, where courage dwells and fears must hide. We grieve as one, his family dear. His mates in blue still feel him near. The boots unfilled, the beat grown still, yet echoes of his steadfast will. The Australian flag at half-mast flies. Beneath it, honour never dies. His service stitched in every seam, his legacy a living dream. And though he's gone from mortal view, his spirit guards the brave and true. So raise the badge and bow the head for Keith, the blue, the valiant dead. Though pain may pierce and sorrow swell, we know he served and served us well. In the silence, one truth rings. He lived a hero, a husband, a father, and a friend. Keith earned his wings. Rest in peace, my friend. And this comes to you today from his very good friend, Mr. Rod Stanton Smith. So finally, Keith and I shared many good times together, and I am justifiably proud to be his adopted father-in-law. His spirit and legacy will continue to inspire us all into the future. It has been said that we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Keith Smith gave so much to so many. Rest easy, my dear friend. Officer Smith, you have done us proud. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dudley. Another tribute now from a very close friend, Mr. Marcus Todman.
We both had hair once. Keith Smith. Some great and fond memories for me, my wife Jodie and the entire Todman family. And so many for us here today. Keith has been in my life for close to 70 years. I've added some age to myself. For close to 40 years. We first met when I was about 70 kilo wet and I needed a gym partner, and along came Keith. We were side by side through some of the important teenage years. Yep, teenage years. Pretty much from the moment we met, it was like we understood each other. No effort, no drama, just good, solid friendship. That kind of connection is rare, and it's something that I never took for granted. We shared a lot over the years, afternoons at the gym, Keith pushing me, go a little bit harder, Toddy, get more weights, get more size. Those sessions weren't just about fitness, they were about life. There was our time to talk, to joke, to sort things out. In Keith's spirit, sometimes not say much at all. Just enjoy each other's company. We went on bike rides. Footy was my sport, riding was Keith's. He'd make me put on lycra, like I was preparing for Tour de France. Sometimes fast and competitive. I just wanted to cruise, chatting about work, family, and everything in between. There was something about being around each other that brought out the best conversations. It wasn't about workouts or sweat. We just knew how to let our hair down. We had our fair share of nights out at clubs and pubs. Some proper nights out. We never needed a reason. It was just like, you're up for a night out, and off we'd go. And every time, Keith brought this calm energy. A little cheeky, always smiling, always making sure that I behaved myself and got home safe. I was a handful. One of my fondest memories was that we went to the 1990, and I'm sure it was called VFL Grand Final back in the 90s. Keith purchased the tickets. That still sits fondly with me today. Not just because of the game, it was because Keith arranged standing tickets. We arrived. You couldn't see who marked, kicked, and those that know I'm passionate about my footy, I lasted 5 minutes. We went to the nearest pub like two good mates, beers in hand, completely in our element. We laughed till our sides hurt. Yelled at the TV screen with the MCG in the background. That was my first experience of a VFL, AFL game of footy. We weren't just watching it, we were living it. Keith became an integral part of my family. He was a regular fixture at my parents' house. Mum would say, "Marcus, is Keith staying for dinner?" It's just become assumed that he was. My brothers and sisters love Keith. He fit in like he was one of us, and in truth, he was. You don't need to be blood to be considered a family member. One thing I've thought about a lot most recently is in all the years that I knew Keith, not once did we have a disagreement. Not once. And I don't say that lightly. Life throws friendships challenges. And best friends can get tested. But Keith, it was just easy. Like a good pair of slippers. Speaking of slippers, Keith would arrive at Barwing Crescent, Riverside, with his blue slippers at any time of day. The zip up the front, wow. Maybe hard for you to believe, but Keith also would arrive with happy pants. He wasn't a fashion statement, and at times I questioned his dress code. He was the type of mate that always had your back. Never loud about it, never looking for credit. He was just there. You didn't have to ask. Just need a drink, sorry. You didn't have to ask. If something went wrong, Keith would be the first to show up and the last to leave. He didn't make a big deal of it. That's just how he was. And when things went right, he celebrated with you like it was his own win. I remember when I got my first big break, he was genuinely stoked. And in Keith's fashion said something like, "I knew you'd do it, mate. I knew you'd get there. Let's have a beer." No jealousy, no ego, just pure supportive friendship. What's hit me the hardest is realising that I won't be getting another phone call or a text from him, but I've come to understand something. People like Keith never really leave you. He's in the way that I carry myself with loyalty. He's in the way that I treat people with calmness and kindness. He's in the stories I tell, the laughs I share, and the way I never settle for half-measured friendships. I miss you, Keith, more than I can say, and I know how many of you fill in the room. But I'm grateful, truly, because not everyone gets a mate like Keith Smith. I was lucky. We all were. So, Keith, thank you, mate. Thank you for being in my corner, protecting me, for all the fun times, the soft banter, and all the treasured memories. He was one of the most loyal, genuine, down-to-earth people that I've ever had the privilege to know. You were one of the best. A quiet legend, gone but not forgotten.
Thank you, Marcus. What a beautiful friend you had. I am honoured to present the following tributes on behalf of their authors. The first one is from his great friend Richie Port, who is unable to be here as he is in Europe. Richie has written, "When I first started cycling with my local group in the early 2000s, I had the good fortune to meet Keith. There are so many times during our friendship where Keith, in his typical understated fashion, went above and beyond to help a mate. One of those times was around the time I got my first contract to race as a professional cyclist in Europe. I was between teams and without a bike when I returned home to Tassie over Christmas, which wasn't ideal considering I needed to return to Europe in good physical shape. Keith heard about my predicament and gladly lent me his new bike, which was his pride and joy, a Cannondale System 6. Anyone who knew Keith at the time would remember just how much he loved his Cannondale bikes, and this particular bike at that time was the Rolls-Royce of bicycles. So I got to roll around on Keith's pride and joy for the summer, and it was only when we caught up for a ride that I realised he was back on a bike which can only be described as a clunker. This was Keith. He would literally give you the shirt off his own back and help anybody out in a time of need. I'll remember Keith for his generosity and being there as a friend during my cycling career, always with a WhatsApp message when things were good or if I was laid up in a French hospital after crashing out of the Tour de France. One thing is for sure, when Keith came for a coffee, it was impossible to pay. Rest easy, Keith. You certainly made your mark, mate. This second tribute is an anonymous tribute that was posted on the condolences page, and the family really loved it and wanted it to be shared today. It's a little similar to Dudley's poem. And it says, Constable Keith Smith stood tall and true, a shield between the dark and you. With steady hand and watchful eyes, he answered every call that cries. He wore the badge not for acclaim, but for the oath beneath his name. To serve with honour, calm and kind, a stronger heart you'd fail to find. No stranger to the weight he bore, he faced what others just ignore. And when the cost grew far too high, he paid the price so that peace may lie. Keith Smith, your name now gently said in whispered prayers and bowed head. Though silence falls where once you spoke, your legacy will not be broke. For every soul you helped to save, for every road you calmly braved, we will hold you in our hearts, your memory safe, you've played your part. So rest now, Keith, your watch is through, this world is safer, thanks to you. Ava has written the following tribute for her dad. She has written, to my dad, I love you, I miss you. You have taught me so much. I love your big smile and your big warm hugs. Thank you for sharing your love of gaming, bike riding and golf with me, even though I was in the bush most of the time. I am so proud of you and your job. I would always tell my school friends, my dad is a policeman. I'm sorry for not getting out of bed for school when you called me. I love you so much for taking wonderful care of me and Mum. I love you forever, Bubba. And Janaea's tribute. My gentle, loving husband, my soulmate. I have no words, I am numb, I am lost. You are more than everything to us. You are more than just a husband and a dad. You are our protector, our safe place. You are the place we call home and always will be. You always put us first because you are the amazing person you are. We are so proud of you, and not just for the presence you have in our lives, but also for the presence you have with your Blue family and the local and wider community. Thank you for the best days of our life together as a family, and loving Ava and I unconditionally. Nothing was a bother to you when it came to us. You were such a tower of strength each and every day. There was always a text message daily to say, I miss you, I love you. This is not goodbye, it is, I'll see you in a minute. Love you forever, my special blue boy. From your babe. Janaea and Ava, our hearts ache for you. We now have the privilege of viewing photographs depicting aspects of Keith's life. The family have chosen the beautiful songs Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding and I Was Made for Loving You by Tori Kelly and Ed Sheeran to accompany these cherished memories.
You're the light, you're the night, you're the color of my blood. You're the cure, you're the pain, you're the only thing I wanna touch.
Such beautiful memories that you have to cherish. Keith, we will always wish you'd stayed much longer with us and had the opportunity to see Ava and your grandchildren grow into fine young adults. But we will now set you free as you travel on into a new day. We will always remember you and all that you have given to us during your life, and we will value who you were for us. To love someone is to risk the pain of parting. Not to love is never to have lived. The grief which we now experience is the honouring of our love for him. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to send Keith on his final journey. Would you all please stand? Keith, go forth from this world knowing that you are loved beyond measure, that you will be missed more than words can say, that you will be remembered and cherished, and that love will never end. We will hold you close within us, and there you will remain to be with us throughout our lives until we meet again. And as we now hold your memory in our hearts and send you on your final journey, may you forever rest in peace with the certain knowledge that our love goes with you. And so it is with love and gratitude that we now commit all these fond memories to be locked away in our hearts as we gently yield your body to be cremated. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Grateful for the life that has been lived and for all that life meant to us, may we resolve that while we live, we will strive with all our might to make our living of real worth. Keith, we celebrate you, we honour you, but most of all we pay tribute to that consistent love and loyalty you always shared so willingly with your family, your colleagues, your friends, and your community. Your courage and strength will never be forgotten. And so now, with love, we shall leave you in peace, and with respect, we bid you a fond farewell. Please remain standing as I call Commander Stuart Wilkinson to the stage to deliver the ode.
As the sun surely sets, dawn will see it arise. For service above self demands its own prize. You have fought the good fight, life's race has been run, and peace, your reward for eternity begun. And we that are left shall never forget. Rest in peace, friend and colleague, for the sun has now set. We will remember. Hasten the dawn. I now ask that you join me in observing 1 minute of silence as we reflect on Keith's life, his service and sacrifice, and the profound loss we all share. Flag party. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain upstanding as we prepare the recessional.
Head shoulder. Shoulder.